All right, this is Mike Merlin Means, Merlin Public Media, and tonight we are doing another episode of Talking Shit with Merlin. And today we're talking shit with
Andy Hogan.
What's going on, Andy?
Oh, this, that, and the other. Kind of in a lull right now, personally, but what are you up to?
Gardening, tending chickens. Our grandson recently joined the family. He's with us permanently now.
I heard that. That's very good news.
It is. He's, for the most part, he's a good kid. I mean, he's a kid, so there's always going to be issues, but he's a good kid.
Yeah.
And he should be coming home any minute from his last football game of the year. Co-captain of the Fox Creek Falcons, I think.
Is that right? Yeah, Falcons.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what's going on here. It's planting season for winter crops, and so that's the big deal here. And I'm doing the station and trying to keep this fun and interesting. And so, what's on your mind?
Well, we just update here too. My wife Judy finally got an outpatient procedure done on her esophagus that she couldn't get done during all of the COVID lockdowns, and then it went through backlog after that. So she's feeling much better. She's almost eating. She's struggling with her restricted diet, but better than basically not having a diet. And so we're trying to get her back to health.
That would be great.
That's the main focus. And then, although you missed it, that I just got done a little while ago with opening production of the community theater's current season, which was on Golden Pond, and that went well.
Good.
We had a little bit of a burp getting it going because the Sunday of Tech Week, everything loaded in and started, and getting rehearsals done in the actual set and theater was interrupted by a small thunderstorm we had.
Small thunderstorm.
Yeah, you know the one.
I know the one, and there's nothing small about that thing.
That was a monster.
Oh my God!
We lost 3 days of rehearsal and 3 mornings of finishing the setup, and therefore lost one show. The Thursday night show had to be axed.
Oh.
But Friday, Saturday, and Sunday went well and was well received. And all of that good stuff. So
it's a great script. I wish I was in condition where I could go see it, but It was very good. It had a great cast, and I do want to say for people who are theater geeks, and I know you are, I very deliberately ended it by having the 2 principals in the cast do something you were not supposed to do. No, sex on stage?
No. That's okay. They're doing that off Broadway now,
Oh, yes, off Broadway. Or off Broadway.
But no. The play ends with it's Norman and Ethel Thayer. Norman survives a heart attack, and they're getting up, and of course Ethel is mothering him. And she asks him if he wants to go out and see the lake before they leave. And he says, yes. And she asks if he can do it. He says, well, if I fall face first into the water, you'll know I couldn't.
Ow.
So
yeah.
They go to leave to go to see the lake. Well, the exit to go see the lake is all the way up stage center.
Okay.
So I literally had them walk to stage center, turn their backs to the audience, and walk arm in arm up the stage to exit.
Whoa. Yeah, but I bet it was.
Yes.
Something you don't do, but I bet it was epic.
It was wonderful. And I actually started it with a slow pull of the curtain as they started to go up stage, and then waited for the final line to be delivered before we did the fast pull. So it was kind of a poetic moment. And what I was doing was taking advantage of the fact that since we have microphones, the dialogue could be heard just fine.
Yes.
And it was the right way for them to exit. There was no artificial, going sideways up through the set or anything.
Yeah.
The way people had been going to exit to go out to the lake all the show. So just not quite so dramatically, the backs to the audience and stuff. I thought it was very nice. And it was a great
video of that one.
Huh?
Any video of that?
We were not allowed to make any videos. I don't think, honestly, I don't think anyone made a video of that.
Okay, I would have liked to have seen that.
But to me, it was the perfect opportunity to break that theater rule that never turn your back to the audience.
Right.
And finish the thing off with the two of them lovingly going off. Fortunately, it was, daylight, so it couldn't be literally into the sunset, but that's kind of that was fun.
Brave, and yet it sounds like it would have just, that sealed the show. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. I did not get any negative feedback from it, even from other theater members and people who I know are
icky.
Somebody said, "What did you do?"
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's an art form and it's going to evolve, and there's time to, back in the day that, nobody ever, you don't break fourth wall. You don't break fourth wall. Now everybody.
Yeah, everybody breaks fourth wall these days. There are shows that are built around breaking the fourth wall.
Yeah.
And I also looked at it from the point of view of my first introduction to large professional theaters, not very first, but as an adult, was at the Guthrie Theater in Minneapolis, which has a thrust stage.
Oh.
And the audience surrounds the stage on three sides.
Uh-huh.
It's impossible to not have your back to someone.
No. That was, the problem with thrust and arena staging.
Yeah. And so you simply have to take it into account and understand that that's going to be and block and perform the scene so that the whole audience enjoys it, whether they can see your face.
And thrust is a nightmare for a lighting designer, but arena is a night terror.
Yeah, you have to be careful, right?
Yeah. I haven't done arena since college.
Yeah, I'll bet. That is not a real popular way to do it.
No, it's really not. What was it? I can't remember what we did arena. I know the first thrust production down there was, and there it went. Woody Allen. Oh, God. Okay, Tony, if you're listening, please forgive me. Oh, all I can remember is there's a canoeing scene in it.
Oh. Huh? Oh, not Woody Allen.
Woody Allen.
Oh, not coming to mind.
Well, okay. Well, we had some fun with that, but let's stop talking about
sure.
like that.
Sure.
Let's go on. So talk to me. Tell me some shit.
You challenged me to come up with some shit to talk about. So
I did.
I had been tossing this idea around in my head for a little while. It goes back to in the late 70s and 80s. There was a lot of talk, and there was even some books and stuff published about the world is coming to an end. One I remember best was Paul Ehrlich's The Population Bomb.
Uh-huh.
Remember that?
Yes, you do.
We're all supposed to be starving a couple of decades ago.
Yeah, and I'm pretty fat for a starving guy.
Yeah, yeah, I know. And others, and I think the population bomb touched on this, but there were others that concentrated more on population density, not just population itself, and predicted that there would be major societal breakdowns, large cities especially, as population density grew too high.
Okay.
And of course, there have been all kinds of science fiction stories and movies about it. You know, biggest classic one I think that most people think of is probably Soylent Green.
Oh yes, love that. Scared the shit
But
out of me.
there are many, many other post-apocalyptic stories like that. And it's just I've been wondering. You know, so this morning I just opened up some websites and pulled some headlines off. Okay, so I just got a selection of them for you here.
Go for it.
Okay. Florida killer clown trial delayed amid new details of credible clown sighting leads from 90s murder.
Okay.
Next one is rival drug cartels open fire on each other with 50 cal weapons just miles from Texas border. All right. Well,
oh man, I want video.
That's drug gangs, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So follow that with Chicago weekend violence sees dozens shot, including 13-year-old boy found on park bench. And I believe the subheadline on that said something like 32 people have been shot. Next one is violent subway shove caught on camera sparks outrage after mayor promised to flood with police. Last one I wrote down is, I don't know if this quite adds, but it makes you wonder why they're even making a film like this. It says, horror film Terrifier 2 is causing viewers to puke, faint in theater. I think maybe they went a little too hard with that movie.
I just watched a review of that. Let me plug my buddy Brian Brown and his podcast, The Daily Dank. They had a brief exclusive segment with Art the Clown from Terrifier and Terrifier 2. So
really? Okay.
And you take the mask off, and because Art the Clown doesn't talk.
Okay.
And he's just this nice horror obsessed guy.
Sure. But the thought is basically are we seeing some of this breakdown of society because there are too many people in too small a space? And especially in this area, look, even at this burg, but cities like Las Vegas and Phoenix that literally could not survive without air conditioning.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that are putting tremendous pressure on water resources, which we now know, especially the Colorado River, we now know grossly overestimated as to its average water flow each.
Oh, yes. Jeez.
So purely aside from that overestimation, it's of a true drought and it's really a mess. But even without that, got these major metropolitan areas. I'm sure you've heard, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Chicago, New York, of course. Just horrible stories coming out over and over again. Almost every day you hear about atrocity. Not to mention the proliferation of mass shootings, not necessarily in school, frequently. And it's just nuts.
It's crazy out there. It really is.
Yeah.
Kind of makes you grateful to be, how shall I say this, up in years.
Yeah. That's crossed my mind. Is I don't have to worry about it. But
yeah. But, I'm relooking at a lot of that. I don't have to worry about it now with, Ryan here. I mean, he's 14, and geez, the world's got to be fucking terrifying.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. You look at it and say, okay, when I was young, I don't mean necessarily age, but young in general. Yeah, I had the occasional. I'd like to wreak some havoc somewhere, but I always somehow managed to talk myself out of that.
Yeah.
Because I realized it was a pretty freaking stupid idea. I had things I still wanted to accomplish in life.
And yeah, you can't do them
But
from inside a jail cell.
well, yeah, and I've also thought in the past many times that I've had debates with people about the death penalty. I don't know where you stand on it, but I came to the conclusion that there are some people whose attitude, in my opinion, who go out and they talk about the really grotesque ones like Jeffrey Dahmer and the BTS. I think they've just basically disqualified themselves from the right to life. I view them as a cancer attacking the whole of humanity. How do you deal with cancer? You cut it out.
Cut it out. Yeah, there are, and I remember when I was younger hearing death penalty will scare people and stop them from committing crimes. No, sorry. Not doing
it. Yeah, that was part of the idea. And I don't know if that's changed because it now takes, 25 years to actually get a death penalty executed. But in any case, it never really helped anyway. Obviously, even back in my youth, there was secret active. I do think that part of the whole scene is that we hear much more about sitting here in Arizona. We probably never would have heard about Chicago having a weekend with 30.
No.
It just wouldn't have reached this part of the world. But today, I mean, we hear it, that was a headline on Monday after the weekend,
Yeah.
I think that's part of it. Maybe it's just better knowledge, aware of it, but it sure seems like it's awful. And I'm not suggesting I have a solution to it. Curious.
Yeah, I can't say I've got one. I mean, and I don't know. The more you sit and think about this kind of stuff, just like the deeper, darker you end up inside yourself.
Yeah.
And balance of like staying informed and staying sane is one hell of a challenge.
Well, I hope. I mean, it also ran through my head that we maybe have turned our backs on an opportunity here. One of the few things I thought was good about the COVID lockdowns was the big switch to working, which I know from experience doesn't always work. Very, very, very easy to get distracted when you're doing.
Talk to me trying to edit a video. Oh,
well, yeah. I mean,
that.
Any number of things. I mean, got 30 times the possibility of being interrupted at home office situation. On the other hand, it lets you draw your label pool almost infinite distance.
Yes.
You don't have to have everybody crowded into Los Angeles in that area.
And in the end, it should cut costs.
Yeah, you would think it would cut costs, especially when you look at what companies are paying to either build buildings or rent buildings in.
You need basically a large central server, and if you got to buy a computer for your help, that's fine, but it's still less than building a building or paying rent.
Right, right. And, but everyone seems to be springing back to the, okay, it's over, come back self into the office and be there mode.
No.
Even though they demonstrated that they could run the business without that.
Yeah. And that whole it's over thing is bullshit. I've got 3 friends currently with it.
Yeah. No, I know it's, when I say over, I mean that they've lifted the bans. And
yes.
they're all still, we're all going to be suffering with COVID probably for. I just saw another scary headline today. I didn't include it because it was a science type headline, but there was a claim, at least, our own biology labs here in the United States have developed a COVID with 80% lethality.
Why the fuck are they doing that?
Well, to develop a defense against it. I mean, the same reason they bred various strains of the National Health Center lab.
Yeah, okay.
They come up with some vaccine against it. But also, because they can.
Well, yeah, and there's that.
I mean, which is a really bad idea, but
it is.
Like somebody said, the only statement Jeff Goldblum made, where he was actually right for a very long time, and it was out of the Jurassic Park movie, where he said, "You guys got so caught up in the fact that you could do it, you didn't stop to think about whether you should do it."
Yes, and that's and that's a science fiction movie theme. If they listened to the scientists in the beginning, there'd be no movie.
Yeah. Which, of course, is bogus because it's usually scientists trying to do things.
Well,
there's always good sides. Scientists can be wrong.
Yes, that's what science is. It learns.
Yeah, Hitler listened to his scientists when they told him that to make a nuclear bomb, they had to have heavy hydrogen. And the U.S. just got a little luckier or went a different direction and got there first without going the hydrogen route. Not to say that was a great thing to do either, but
so many points in history we could have all gone to shit.
Oh, yeah. And then you get into the whole parallel universe thing. But if Hitler's scientists had gotten a hold of enough heavy hydrogen to make.
Well, they still got labs on the dark side of the moon, don't you? They're not done.
Somebody says they do, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh. And I want to know where they got the tech, because that's even ahead of us right this minute.
Oh, yeah. Well ahead of us. So I've heard some kickback lately on rumors that China was light years ahead of us in quantum computing technology, and been some stories coming out lately where IBM is saying, don't worry too much about it. Not like they're actually giving out any secrets or anything.
No, just don't worry. Yeah.
Suggesting that they've got a pretty good handle on quantum.
Oh, I'm waiting for the organic computers. Those are the ones that are going to.
Oh, yeah, that's going to be. That gets back to putting chips in your.
Well, there's a point after which that if you actually do know what those chips are doing, it's not necessarily a bad idea. That, my fear is, yes, it's going to do this, this, and this. Meanwhile.
Yeah, the meanwhile is, I was just thinking of the movie Upgrade. Have you ever seen it?
Yep.
Yeah, horrible movie, but, there's the idea of, I made this chip, and, it's kind of a lot more than I thought it would do.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of a TV show called Revolution?
No, I don't think so.
I know for a fact you can find it on Tubi. It takes place 15 years after electricity stops working.
Oh, yeah?
And
The reason
several seasons later, you find out why. But yes, there's no electricity, so nothing works.
Well, I can understand no electricity, but electricity not working is sort of contrary to, at least right now, our fundamental.
Yes. And that's basically what they're talking about in the beginning is like, how can this happen? It's electricity. It works. And they have an answer, and it's not awful.
Okay.
But we go back to agrarian militia-based societies, and, everybody's fighting everybody else and da-da-da-da-da. But, the
Right.
bulk of people got out of the cities, and they're living like Old West farming communities, raising crops, and I like that.
I like that idea a lot.
The Star Trek colonies. An agrarian living off the land society with all the knowledge of the universe inside your little house.
Yeah.
I just love that.
I think that would be a great thing. I would be, again, thinking about all the stuff we're going through right now, there'd be a lot less food chain supply problems right now if everybody had their own little chickens like.
We do that a bit. We don't grow all that much, but and we've got our lettuce in, our garlic's getting ready to go in, and we handle a fair chunk of our consumption out of our gardens. And
Yeah, and I admit in that kind of society we'd likely have a lot less variety.
Probably.
Although there's, again, you look around here and it's artificial and supported by water supplies that are drained to the limit. There are an awful lot of fruit trees around. Aren't actually native plants, but
there's a lot. But if you're gonna go post-apocalyptic gardening, get out of here.
Yeah.
Just get out of here, man.
Yeah. This is
Take
not
your knowledge and go to
no.
some place where you don't have to amend every ounce of soil that you're using.
Right. Oh, I'm not suggesting this would be the great place for it to happen. We'd have more variety than people are giving credit for.
Oh yeah, there's an amazing amount of things you can grow here.
Yeah, and in the fertile parts of the United States, Great Plains, the Midwest, and everything, you can grow anything there. If you
California, man. I mean, Southern California.
Well, Southern California can only grow anything because they're taking massive amounts of water out of the country.
Well, okay. Yeah. So I guess I'm going to have to move to a colder climate when it hits the fan.
Yeah, but not that much colder. Not horrifically cold.
Well, Kingman itself, I mean, that's 40 miles away. Kingman is not bad for growing almost anything.
Right.
High desert.
Yeah, they've got vineyards up there that are producing good wines.
I know.
That's interesting.
Sadly, I haven't sampled any, but
we did. We went up there with some friends one weekend and just on Saturday, and took the super mini tour. It's not much to see, but then had samplings of their wines, and they were really good. Oh,
I'm waiting for one of the dispensaries to have a sampling bar.
Yeah, they call those cafes in Holland.
There is. Oh yeah, the newest one I saw is Shroomies.
Shroomies?
It's in Canada. There's 2 locations right now. They have legalized psychedelic mushrooms.
Yeah.
And they're, you can buy mushrooms, or you can buy powder, or you can buy metered extract, where you actually know exactly how much you're taking, as opposed to eating a mushroom.
Oh, Interesting.
But yeah, what's your take on cannabis, or do you not want to talk about that?
Cannabis is fine. I think I think cannabis is no more detrimental to the health of the individual or the health of society than cigarettes and beer are.
I agree. And the health benefits, I mean, you know, I know them personally from my lung issues. Health benefits are out there for so many different things.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of people that you wouldn't necessarily suspect of it, but that have, you know, rash and take a little hit at night or edible.
Yeah, I'm since I started getting really sick, I'm a fairly regular. I don't smoke. That's I can't do that, but I do tinctures and glycerides and occasional edible.
Yeah.
It does wonders for my lungs. It also helps me, and I'm not doing it today, but it also helps me with some of these interviews. Well, you know, me in front of a mic is something that people are still like, how are you doing that, man? That's not you.
Yeah, yeah.
And sometimes I do that. You know, if it's going to be a particularly tough one, then yes, I'll have a little bit before I fire up the computer and get going. But it's given me back more of my life and the ability to do things than I thought was possible. And
yeah, and I will extend my argument to drugs beyond cannabis as well, because if you compare cannabis to beer, you need to compare other harsher drugs like cocaine to hard liquors. And we still allow adults to go out and ruin their lives with hard liquors and beer and wine. But with liquors that are much higher in alcohol concentration than beer or wine are. And we know that it's damaging. Oh, it destroys people, it destroys families, it destroys societies, not entire societies, but it certainly hurts. You know, I've been in parts of cities where people were reeling down the street and just did very, very antisocial behavior. But you know, we still allow that. So if we're going to allow that with alcohol, I don't see why we shouldn't allow it with other drugs, except that the legal drug industry has gotten to developing drugs that are powerful.
Yeah.
Addiction is almost instant, and abuse is possible to avoid. So I think there are some things that need to be kept on the do not do list. You know, if people could legally get their cocaine or even methamphetamine, if it were legal and affordable, they knew they were getting good stuff instead of stuff that had been cut with bad stuff.
Yeah.
You know, they'd be more likely to use it, at least semi-responsibly, as long as they could, just like any alcoholic does.
Yeah. Yeah. And I speak of alcoholics or alcoholism from, you know, this person. I'm approaching, I don't know, it's 33 or 34 years. So,
yeah.
But, you know, and
fading out a bit, by the way.
Pardon me?
You're fading out a bit.
Okay, hang on. Is that better?
That's much better.
Okay, cool. When I have a surgery or an injury and they, the go-to is a Vicodin or a generic. I'm crazy cautious. I mean, one thing I do not need is another addiction. Jeez.
Right. So, yeah, Judy in dealing with her issues has had prescription for strong narcotics a couple, and I've she's had the reaction that okay, that helps very much with the pain. I needed that, but I'm not touching that again. So,
yeah.
But I know it's easy to slip down that pipe. I fortunately I have so far avoided any problem like that, but that doesn't mean that I know plenty of people who are active alcoholics. I know that are where it's beyond them. They are in their past. They have it under control. They all said this. I'm an alcoholic. I haven't touched anything. One of them, two.
I only know one person, in my life that's had a serious pill problem. I've known lots and lots and lots of alcoholics, and I don't know. I'm not using anything at all, but my THC, and it's primarily for health purposes. There are some times where you just kind of need to chill a little bit, but
yeah. Well, it's not necessarily bad in terms of health either. There's mental health.
My previous and my current pulmonologists are like, take it any way you want, but do not smoke it.
Yes, yeah.
And this new one is hardcore. Nothing goes in your lungs but air, and even that's probably killing you. I told him I was vaping, and he's like, no. Nothing but air in the lungs. Okay, man.
No, I think that's the right way to do it. Unfortunately, I got I don't know if I ever told you this. Just at the time when I was starting to try to find ways to sneak a cigarette and try to be cool.
Uh-huh.
I got shocked out of that by my father passing away from.
Yeah.
And I kind of drove a stake in that one for me. But I was going to say I have three older brothers, and one of them told me once, and this was a long time ago, but he told me he had tried basically every drug that was. Like I said, it was a long time ago. Doubt if he's ever tried meth. Some of the other newer. But he never got addicted to anything.
Yeah.
So there is no inevitability about it.
I guess.
And that's why I'm fairly loose on my tolerance for it. The other thing is, I look at the destruction and the cost of so-called war on drugs.
Ugh.
It hasn't helped a damn bit, and it's accelerated drug running from level of shiners, trying to outrun the cops. Outright war, where you heard that headline I read earlier. They're using 50 cals. Come on, what?
Yeah.
But boggles my mind.
Well, and then you've got marijuana is a Schedule 1 drug. What the fuck?
Well, you know the background of that, don't you? Political background of it.
I remember hearing something about it, but so refresh us.
It was largely decided by one person who wanted to stem the flow of Spanish-speaking people in the United States across, and they were frequent users of marijuana. He decided that if he made it a Schedule 1 drug and outlawed it, they would just have to stop coming.
That didn't work.
It didn't work. Didn't work at all.
No.
Almost anyone could have told him because he was truly confusing cause and effect there. Not why they were coming here.
Yeah.
Not along with them.
Oh,
But I mean, it was a completely political move. It had nothing to do with any scientist or doctor standing up and killing people. That was an attempt, whole population.
Yeah. So much of the laws were learned.
Yeah.
Are not for the good of the people, but merely to control. But, that's like another 4.5, 5-hour discussion.
Yeah. You go back to the very beginnings with crops. And you don't even really have to get into the absolute part of it.
Yeah.
Which almost brings us to a topic I really wanted to stay away from.
Then stay away from it.
Oh, it's I myself actually enjoy listening to politics, watching it.
Really?
So this thing right now that even I am turning commercials off. Come on.
Yeah.
Which of course is getting extremely difficult to do now because that's almost all the commercials that are on.
Oh God.
The people that are getting commercials on besides politicians are the big phone companies. It seems like.
It's
But the tone of it, I haven't heard a positive commercial.
No.
Month at least. It's all negative. It's all.
Well, and you put out an ad, you say I stand for this, this, and this, and then 12 hours later the counter ad saying no, he stands for this, this. I mean, it's just back and forth and back and forth.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I mean, to be hired as a video editor for that kind of stuff. I mean, you'd be never out of work. If you can do the editing without, vomiting on your keyboard, you're fine.
My wife said something like, why do they even take these commercials? A, because they're required to, and B, because this is like Black Friday for retailers. This Black Friday of video advertising.
Yeah. If you think this is bad, give it 2 more years. It'll be really ugly.
They could literally sell every minute of advertising time. Even, I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, talking about 2 years from now, I wouldn't be surprised to see network television programs, not even network, but regular cable shows adding commercial time, sacrificing storyline. Cable channels, fetching instead of fetching it to hours and 30 minutes, fetching it to 3 hours. Because we put more ads in, and they're buying them.
Yeah, and what are we averaging? 17 minutes? No. 43 minutes of content, your average episode on a TV show right now.
Hour show, yeah.
And I didn't realize how much that had actually changed until I started watching or rewatching older shows.
Yeah.
52 minutes, 53 minutes, 55 minutes.
And you see how many fewer commercials there are, and then, or you see how all of the commercials are 20-second commercials.
Well, and people don't want a long story. I mean, unless you're sitting down for a long story, you're going to hit them with something. You hit them hard and fast.
Right.
And commercials, I mean, Juanita and I we analyze commercials. What are they actually saying?
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
More than more than half of is 50.01%.
Yes, yeah. Oh, the one I like is no product is better than this one, which means that there might be half a dozen products out there that are every bit as good.
Right. But nothing is better.
But we're telling you about this one. So,
and, what was it? I forget who it was for, but they touted 1,600 5-star Google reviews, and I laughed out loud. I'm like, big fucking deal.
Yeah. Here, let me sit down on my computer and generate those for you.
Because, yeah, you could do it in an hour easy.
Yeah.
Copy, paste, go, go, go.
Exactly. Yeah. If you got the skill to write a bot, you can do it.
Yeah. I've actually considered, I'm still thinking about it. So if you're listening, don't steal this or come on board and work with me. Setting up a YouTube channel where you rate and break apart commercials.
Oh, I talked to one of my brothers about putting a website together to do that. I even had a great website name for it, Ad Nauseum.
Oh,
you may use that if you like.
I will. Oh my God, that's perfect. 1,000 uses. Can somebody please list these for me? Because I don't believe you.
Yeah.
Now, what are they, man? Somebody from Product X, give us a holler, tell us what they are, and, we'll put up another video, and you guys are cool.
You know what got me onto this? Years and years and years. There was a tire commercial. I think it was by Goodyear. I wasn't part of that, so please don't anybody mad at me. But it contained 2 performance statements about their new tire and how it performed on wet surfaces.
Okay.
And one was that it pumped X number of gallons a minute out of the tire, off of the road. The tire was effectively running on dry. And the other one was that it was, and that was, I think it was, that one was at a relatively low rate of speed, driving around town.
Okay.
And then it had a comment about how it did at highway speed. They didn't say what highway speed was, but at that time, I think it was pretty universally still 5 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So I noticed that if you combine those two mathematically, it came up with a definition of highway speed as 34, 35 miles an hour or something. And of course, you can't really do that. That's proper math to take 2 unrelated claims and combine them like that. But still, it was like, wait, what? What are you palming off on us here?
Yeah.
So.
Build strong bodies in 7 ways. They had to stop that one. Somebody sued them.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there've been a lot of claims like that. And every once in a while, you see a commercial come on and you'll see it like 2 or 3 times and then it disappears.
Uh-huh.
And it's because somebody pointed out that there's a really blatant factual error in it, something. It just could not support it. You had to retract it.
Speaking of detracting and changing things, are you still doing like satellite cable, or are you doing you cut the cable?
Yes. We have satellite cable still.
Okay.
Got it. One of the members of the household is too addicted to certain shows.
Would those be soaps?
Further deponent saith not.
Yes. I understand diplomacy. Diplomacy is a wonderful thing. I just say CYA.
Yeah. Or as you often say on Facebook, Nunya.
Nunya business. Yeah. I love those. That's another pain in the butt thing is blatantly digging for your information. And people hand it to
Yeah.
them. Here, learn all about me. I'm like, wake up.
Yeah.
They already know almost everything about you, and now you're giving them that last little bit.
Right.
Now let's
But
go
honestly,
take a DNA test too.
I took a hard look quite a few years ago. Got upset at one email service provider. Started insisting that I get a bunch of information. And I took a hard look around and looked at all of the big providers and said, you know what? I actually read about 2/3 of Google's terms and conditions for Gmail.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you use Gmail, you're giving them. It doesn't say we can go into your account and curl onto your hard drive on your computer and read every file on there, but they probably do it anyway.
They probably do. I mean, if you got an Android phone, then, well, you've got no privacy on that thing. I'm sure of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I have an Android, but, I don't have all that much to hide anymore.
No, I've given up, to some extent, I've given up care. Because you just can't, you know what got me away from it was I started working, No. And I realized that I was deliberately going into these environments where they spent enormous amounts of time and energy and money, make sure that they could see everything, everywhere.
Uh-huh.
And I said, okay, so when I go to work, I'm on camera.
Yes.
And I'm being recorded. So,
yep.
So once you get used to that, you just kind of say, okay, so what? So what if Google theoretically knows I just said something very detrimental to some politician?
Oh, I do that all the time.
It's unlikely that that's going to actually lead anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah,
other than slightly increasing their aggregate statistics, number of people who say things in email like.
Both of the adults in this household are on watch lists.
Yeah.
I've been on a watch list since 1978.
Okay.
When I subscribed to Mother Jones magazine.
Oh yeah, Mother Jones, nice magazine.
But back then, I got a letter from them. I got
right.
And it said, if you continue with the subscription, yada yada yada, you'll be on. The government will be watching you. So I signed it and sent it back and said, thank you. But, I had a much more radical side in my younger years.
I think many of us did.
But politically, I'm real radical.
At least one of those brothers that I mentioned I have on an FBI watch list.
Yep.
Probably gotten himself way down on it.
Yeah. Well, and then, Juanita and I were very active with the Save Ward Valley movement. 25-ish years ago, we won against them putting a low-level nuclear waste dump in the middle of sacred tribal lands.
Yeah, well, it's got to go somewhere.
And we are one day we're over in the valley, in the camp, hippies, activists, tribal leaders, elders from tribes all over the place on the other side of the highway with telephoto lenses longer than my arm are the feds and their, pictures and watching us. And basically it came down to those hippies might be violent. Hippies aren't fucking violent.
Yeah.
But, that all worked out in the end. And, either this coming February, I think, is 25 years since we beat that one. And we are a playbook for environmental activism in what we did and how we did it. And we basically had one rule. And I have to say this as many times in many places as I can. The one rule was the elders are correct. End of discussion. If the elders say it's time to go, you go. If the elders say we're staying, we stay. That was it. The elders are correct. And that was just, the elders are more or less considered useless in modern society. And that was just so refreshing. Especially now that I are an elder.
Yes. Feel better as an elder.
Okay, throw me something new, man.
Something new?
Something new.
What passed through my mind at the moment? You're talking about the elders being correct. Show that. Oh no. They've just resurrected the sci-fi show Quantum.
And I wasn't a super big fan of the original. How is this one?
It's pretty much the same.
Okay. I guess it won't bother.
Of course, it's much more slick technically.
Well, yes.
You'd expect that. And they're just really kind of now starting to develop the long-term plot. But the basic plot is quite intriguing. The program got shut down after the original Sleeper Sam something got lost and just couldn't come back.
Okay.
And they shut the project down, but of course people kept poking around the edges of it, made some changes. They made obviously huge increases in computer capacity, and so they fired it back up on the hopes that they could send somebody on a leap into the past and bring them back. Problem that Sam ran into. Kept leaping and back. But also with the very clear objective of going back and finding Sam, bringing him back, rescuing him.
Okay.
So that's kind of what they're trying to do. But just as in the first show, or after a couple of uneven seasons, they developed this idea that there were other people out there leaping for not good, going back to fix problems, like the cost.
Okay.
And so it kind of became a battle between them, which is, I know you're a Heinlein fan, and Heinlein did something like that also, where at the end of one of his books, he had Lazarus Long get rescued by people jumping back in time a little bit, dragging him out of gotten himself in. And then they kind of developed that a little bit further, where there were more jumping back in time, trying to fix them, fighting basically a temporal. So I suspect this new Quantum Leap is going. But there's just watched the movie Tenet.
Okay. Don't know it.
And that is it is the most complex and yet apparently correctly thought out time travel do-over type movie. It really is. They have, and of course, the special effects are mind-blowing because they have people going. They've discovered a technology to reverse entropy.
Oh.
Which means you move backwards through time so you can affect something that happened.
Yeah.
And but they actually show people doing this. And of course, it's all done cinematography.
Yeah.
They film something and run it backwards. But some of the things they have to run backwards are people driving cars backwards.
Nice.
So it's really, but it's really good cinematically. But the plot at the beginning of the movie just sounds like a total clusterfuck.
Yeah.
It really does. I mean, you're saying, "Oh, this makes no freaking sense at all," but by the time they get to the end of the movie, you're, wait a minute, yeah.
I like that. If they can keep me long enough to get there, I like that.
Yeah. The first time I watched it, I almost turned it off, but the acting was good. I wanted to see where it was. Watched it 2 more times now. It's only occasionally available.
Where?
The neat thing is, where?
Where?
I think this last one I recorded off of TNT.
Okay.
I'm not positive. But the great thing about it is, how a lot of these stories now are ending with not a cliffhanger, but obvious leak to a sequel.
Uh-huh.
This one's linked to a sequel is many years in the main character's future.
Ooh. Okie doke.
Very weird. Very weird stuff.
Indeed.
I love it when good people and people that have some handle on tech, science, tackle time travel. And of course, it's not time travel, it's space-time travel.
Yes. I just want a TARDIS. I'll be happy.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, let me rephrase that. I want a TARDIS that's controllable.
Controllable? Oh, come on. Take all the fun out of it.
It does take a lot of the fun out of it, doesn't it?
I was going to say that was the first show that actually got that right.
Yeah, that's...
time and space. It doesn't, so many... I just laugh at these shows and say, oh, well, just jump backwards in time. Yeah, well, okay, go ahead. Back to the Future. One of the channels is running all 3 shows every week. But, sorry, but you jump back 30 years ago, and Earth wasn't there.
Yep.
Earth wasn't in the same spot 30 years ago.
Yeah, in many different ways.
Yes. Yeah, many, many different ways. People have very little concept of how many directions we're moving.
Yeah.
All the time, constantly moving, sometimes at ridiculous rates of speed.
Yes, and Doctor Who was boo-hooed and tee-heed, and aside from early BBC tech, which was kind of non-existent, it's managed to live this long.
Well, not just that it lived a long time, it resurrected itself.
Yeah,
Sheer
and well.
Momentum within its fan base. Yeah, and they resurrected it very well.
And the fans are nuts.
Yes.
They take other science fiction fans, they're like, yeah, I have a mild interest.
Yeah. Oh, it's if you put a collection of Star Trek fans and fans together, the Who fans will beat the crap out of Star Trek.
Yeah. And find a way to justify it.
Well, I've always thought that would be really fun to have an episode of Star Trek where they actually bump into the Doctor. If not the Doctor, they actually run into the Doctor. Somebody like that.
Yeah. I'm going to have to wrap this up because my oxygen compressor is calling my name very loudly.
Well, you need to take care of yourself.
This has been a hoot. We should do another one day.
We shall. You'll have to let me kind of recharge and come up with more Yeah, ideas.
Are you doing any of the upcoming shows?
I am. I have two very, very small parts in the Christmas show that's coming up in December. Okay, almost all of the parts are very small. A few that span the whole show, because the show is like a series of TV or TV news announcements about things that are going on in this little town of Christmas. Title of the play.
Okay.
And it's all about, did somebody actually see reindeer flying through the sky? It's very funny. The humor is very good. There are some bits of humor throughout the play that are repeated. It's very good. It's much better than my. I have a small part in the first scene and another different part in the last scene. Between those two, I'm sitting. And I have to apologize to you. I realize that I did make a short video of fireplace opening up.
Oh, cool.
During the Canterbury Ghost show that Ghost Light Children's Theater. I haven't sent that to you.
I'll be looking forward to seeing it. Yeah, I've reached out to Julia and Doreen for an interview, and that should be sometime. I would give them a couple weeks to get into rehearsals and stuff before we do this, but
yeah, they just started the rehearsal.
Yeah.
But I will say they seem to have a clear idea of how they want their.
Well, that's good.
Talking with some, but still making changes on the fly.
Yes. Changes until the opening night, and then still more changes.
Well, hopefully it'll be a little more. That's always a possibility.
I'm going to clock out here, and thank you for your time and insight.
Oh, insights, yeah.
Insight, yes.
Okay.
Alrighty then. Good night, and talk to you soon.
And good night, and talk to you as soon as possible. Thank you.
Sounds good, man. Bye-bye.